Hello. So I want to do a video about deities in EverQuest and EverQuest Legends because a lot of people don't seem to really know like which deities they should choose and what the benefits of choosing certain deities are, how it affects their character. So I thought it'd be good to just kind of talk about that because I think it's an interesting subject because it's actually something that does have a lot of pros and cons with in EverQuest. And so one piece of advice you might see a lot is a lot of people say, oh, just choose agnostic because it's best, which is not necessarily true. The thing about agnostic is that there are no downsides. There's no penalties for choosing agnostic. But on the flip side, there's no benefits either. The games, at least EverQuest, I assume EverQuest Legends is gonna be the same way, but there's always been a lot of deity specific items you can only use if you worship a certain deity. And if you're agnostic, you miss out on all of that. And like I said, and there's certain deities do give you bonuses with certain faction, again, because agnostic, what agnostic does is means you don't have a deity modifier. All deities give you a fast modifier, it's certain factions, but being agnostic just means there is no modifier, so there's no downside, but there's no real upside either. It is generally a safe one, but saying agnostic's best isn't necessarily true. I think this is one of those pieces of advice that was meant for maybe specific class race combos. For example, if you are say a high elf enchanter, right? High elves, they can only worship the good aligned deities as an enchanter. You can choose Mar, you can choose Tunari, you can choose Nathaniel Mar, or you can choose Karana. I mean, if you absolutely want a deity, Karana is probably the more neutralish one, but all those are probably gonna get more trouble than just choosing agnostic. Same thing if you were a dark elf enchanter, because you can only worship Inaruk, so going agnostic obviously gonna be a way better choice. But for other classes, a lot of times you do have deity choices that actually have a lot of upside. So sticking with Dark Elf, let's say you wanted to be a rogue, right? You can actually choose Bristlebane, which is actually a really good deity. Bristlebane has a lot of positive modifiers, a lot of factions. There aren't too many factions you will suffer a penalty with Bristlebane, but you will get benefits with a lot of factions. So Bristlebane's generally one of the better deities in general, has a lot of upside, not too much real downside. So just picking that on your Dark Elf rogue, or really just any rogue that has an good option. And again, bards can also pick Bristlebane. Bards get a lot of options, but if you're a rogue or a bard, Bristlebane's good. Dwarf berserkers can also choose Bristlebane, which is interesting. It's I said, I just want to go through here. Dwarf berserkers, so I said, I think Bristlebane's like I said, great there. And then of course halfling and gnome clerics, they can also choose Bristlebane as an option if you are a cleric. Where's cleric? Cleric's up here. Yeah, gnome and halfling clerics can choose Bristlebane as their deity. So, like I said, so I think that's one of the better deities overall. Another one that is really good is Salisek Ro, which is available to wizards and bards. Salisek Ro, much like Bristlebane, is more of a neutral deity, doesn't really have any downsides, actually gets you boosts with some of the factions that the Temple Salisek Ro, and for the most part doesn't really affect anything else, so it's mostly pure upside. If you're a wizard, there's actually a few quests there that you might want to do. So Salisek Ro just is totally fine deity, pretty safe, no real downside. Some of the other neutral deities, if you're a barbarian, I don't think there's too much downside in picking Tribunal in most cases. The Tribunal usually seems pretty safe. And Erudites, they can pick Praxis, which, like I said, generally, you're not going to run into too many problems with Praxis either. But those kind of deities that are more neutral are usually pretty safe. Another thing that is underrated is picking more of an evil deity on a more neutral-ish or a good aligned character. So if you're a human, one deity that is surprisingly good to pick is Inaruk. Inaruk on a human is shockingly good because you will actually be able to walk into Nariak and you'll have these better factions with Grob. But you won't be KOS in Fellweiss or anything either. The merchants might not sell to you, but you'll be able to walk into a surprising number of cities as a human who worships Inaruk. It should be noted that half elves can also worship Inaruk. And again, if you're a half elf warrior, Inaruk is actually kind of good as a half elf warrior. Half elf warrior. Inaruk, like I said, ends up having said there's just some upsides there. You won't have quite as good of factions with Nariak as a half elf as you would with a human, but Again, you can go to Fellweiss and not really run into problems either, even though you worship Inrook, just because, like I said, it's just one of those things. Having like a more of a goodish race with an naval deity is surprisingly good, and I'll actually show you can, in the EQ Ledge, it's really easy to check your faction. Well, it's easy to check your faction anyway, but you can actually change your loadout, so you can check a bunch of them, and I was like, so we'll talk about this in-game here in a minute, but yeah, Inrook is surprisingly good on humans and half-elves. And kind of that same vein, like wood elves, like you can actually choose if you are a warrior or a bard, you can choose Ralazek as a wood elf. Like Ralazek will hurt you with Kaladim's Storm Guard, the guards of Kaladim, just the guards, the Storm Guard. Like if you're a wood elf, you will start threatening if you choose Ralazek. But the Storm Guard, they're super easy to raise faction with the Storm Guard. Literally you can just kill Crushbone Orcs, and if you're playing on EQ Legends, you don't even take the Indigo Brotherhood hits anymore. So like it's just getting that Storm Guard faction up pretty quick. It doesn't even, it's not much of a penalty, and you'll be you'll have slightly better factions with some of the more evil entities. You would have to do more faction work if you do actually want to walk in area and stuff, but this does kind of, you know, close the gap a bit, get you a bit easier. Like I said, there's not many other real downsides outside of Kaladim, like literally just the guards you'll start threatening, but otherwise there's not really any downside. I've mained Wood Elf Warrior before on progression servers, like I did that on like Volcair in 2011, and on Lockjaw in 2014, I mained Wood Elf Warrior of Ralazek. And yeah, no, the Ralazek, pretty good. Again, Half Elf Warrior can also do Ralazek, so in Bards as well. Bards can also choose Zek. Bards get a lot of choices. Bards can choose anything but Kazakh, Inrook, or Bertoxlus. And Ralazek's not bad. Again, Bristlebane is pretty good. For a bard too, so like if you're bard. One deity you should watch out for is Vishan. That one is bard specific, and Vishan doesn't, the only faction that you really get a boast with is like Reign of Skell, and that's just not that relevant a faction. I mean, if you're playing Talvalis, if that's, I don't know how EQ Legends will look like if it does Valis content, but playing on progression, there is some benefits for like Sky Shrine quests, but for the most part, Vishan, it gets you worse factions in most towns, like Calethan, Fellweiss, Kaladim. You will have significantly worse faction standing if you choose Vishan. Like I said, it's just one of those things. There's not a lot of upside, a lot of downside. Vishan, yeah, not a lot of reason to pick it. It's Bard exclusive, and as a Bard, you have choices, way better choices like Bristlebane, Rexus, the Tribunal, Ralazek, Salasek Row. I mean, yeah, pick something else, guys. Don't do Vishan. Unless you're doing it for roleplay reasons. Literally the only reason to do it is if you want the roleplay reasons. But yeah, like those are all like good choices to do. So like, and if we go in-game. Alright, so here we are. I just created a character. We are here in East Freeport. This is a human, like this is a human warrior rogue. We just did war rogue a second. We worship Inrook. And one thing you can do in-game is you can do /faction. And this will literally bring up the whole faction list. You can look at any faction, see where you stand with anything at the start. So if you look here, we are dubious with the Clerics of Tanari. We're dubious with the Clerics of Underfoot. We are dubious Commons, Lions, Resident, Craft Keepers, Crackneck Warriors, Crimson Hands. Crushbone Orcs are threatening, but that doesn't matter. Bashers, as I said, that is, I believe that's Grob guards, but Dark ones, I think that's like the Grob's Shadow Knight Guild. We're dubious there. Dark Reflection is the Akanon Bertoxlus worshippers, and we're indifferent there. We're indifferent to the Dark Barkers, which are Mariac merchants. Deep Muses, Deep Pockets, Deep Water Knights, dubious to all of those. And Dismal Rage, I think that's the Evil Warrior Guild. It's like our own guild, that's why it's amiable. It's like a guild we're part of, I think. But yeah, Dreadguard Inner, Dreadguard Outer, those are Nariac guards. Dryads the Grove, Debon Mask, Eldridge Collective, Emerald Warriors. Emerald Warriors is Calethan Warrior Guild. The guards of Calethan, we're dubious there. We're dubious to Nariac. We're dubious to Calethan. Let's see. We are Gem Choppers. That's Akanon guards. Like, we're dubious there. Guardians of El. That's Rivervale guards. We are dubious there. Guards of Kinos, dubious. High Council of Iridan, High Guard of Iridan, dubious there. High Pass guards, dubious. Indigo Brotherhood, dubious. Right? Like, Jagged Fine Tree Folk were dubious. Karana Residents dubious. Keepers of the Art, that is Feldweiss, like Spellcaster Guild, were dubious there. Kelly's and Merchants dubious. Like I said, you won't be able to sell a lot of places, but you won't be KOS either. Interrook Human, like I said, super good option. Like I said, and if you're an Interrook Cleric, you can actually do like the you can get a Snare Talisman. There's like a quest you can do in Nariak that gets you like a talisman that gets you like a necklace that can cast Cleaning Darkness, which is super good. But yeah, like we're like dubious to most towns. Like literally, if you're an Interrook Human, you can walk into most towns without being KOS. Like I said, you might have some work to do in like Grob or Ogok, but you make it a bit easier on yourself. And I get probably Kaladin. Kaladin will probably get you too. What is Stormguard? Where's Storm? I'm assuming we're Chaos and Kaladin too. Kaladin. Dwarves. They put the dim in Kaladin. Yeah, we're threatening there. But again, Stormguard. Oh, 25 points to dubious. That means killing exactly 5 Crushbone Orcs will put you into dubious territory. We're 25 points for dubious to Stormguard too, so just great factions across the board. Like I said, I mean, this is a human of Interrook. Like it's just there's no real. Like I said, it's just a lot of upside here. So I mean, sometimes agnostic is not the best. Like so, there's always things to consider. Like I said, and again, if you're doing class, like I said, with the EQ Legends, you don't lock in your deity till level 11, so you can actually, if you do some race change quests, like you do a quest to unlock a different race, you could totally be like an Interrook under like maybe a Wood Elf or something. That'd be unusual, and it probably has a lot more upside. Like so, there's like I said, you probably get a lot of upside if you're like say a human, like a Wood Elf under Interrook or something, or a High Elf. Like there'd probably be a lot of upside. I have never tested that because EQ Legend, but different. But like I said, human gets a lot of benefits for it, and like I said, so it just. Stuff like that, but yeah, evil deities on goodish races is, like I said, Interrook is not too bad, Thyrosex not too bad. Like really, Khazak-Zul could be a lot of problems in a lot of places. I wouldn't recommend Khazak for anybody who's not a Nixar or maybe an Erudite. I guess Erudites can normally, if you want to be an evil Erudite, Khazak-Zul, I guess option, but like. Yeah, Khazak-Zul is probably one of the deities that'll get you a lot of trouble. Vishan, as we mentioned, will get you in a lot of trouble places. If you're an Ixar, if you lock in something other than Khazak-Zul, you'll probably run into problems. If you want to main Ixar, I would recommend just sticking with Khazak because Ixar do not like heretics, guys, even though the heretics in Veridian worship, you know, Khazak-Zul, but you know what I mean. But yeah, no, so just things to consider. Like I said, agnostic's not always best. There are benefits to choosing certain deities. A lot of the more neutral deities like Bristlebane and Salsicro usually have a lot more upside than downside. And yeah, evil deity on good races, you know, can actually be pretty tech. So something to consider. I did another video the other day about EQ Legends, kind of gave my first impressions and talked a lot about like the UI issues that hopefully the dev team will fix before launch, but there's a lot of UI issues, and if you want to know how to like kind of set up your UI so it looks more like this, so it's a bit more readable, yeah, check out my video down below. And as always, thank you for watching.